Hello guys, welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place for everything related to Amazon FBA primarily on e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today I bring you a very special friend and guest. His name is Sebastian, and he's the founder of Signify, which is an amazing company when it comes to helping you with everything to do with product sourcing. So that's actually going to be today's topic. He's going to give us some tips when it comes to, finding the right manufacturers for your Amazon business and how to be cost effective with that. So Sebastian, it's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. How you doing?
Vincenzo, thank you so much for having me on here, and what a nice introduction. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I see this whole thing growing more and more into a family, and I see you all over the place, and I guess we can call each other friends by now. It's really lovely to see how the whole e-commerce, how the whole Amazon community grows together. And thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. I think the first time we met was actually in Mexico, right? We had a good time there.
It was a good question. Where was it? Was it Mexico?
At the it was in Mexico with the Mexico trip. Yeah, that was the first time.
The Mexico sourcing trip where my wife came a couple of days before myself.
Yeah. That was good, man. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure to meet you, man. I love what you guys do in the space. So it's definitely nice to have you on board. I know today you're gonna share a lot of insights when it comes to finding manufacturers and so on. But I think before we jump into that, though, I want to talk a little bit about you, because I think what I love to do with all my guests is to learn about their story, their background, and how they jump into the e-commerce space, and potentially as well hear about how you came up with the idea of funding Signify. So maybe you can give us a little bit of insight on that. Yeah.
Cool, sure, absolutely no problem. I just noticed, excuse me please for the background, we're right now at the Scale for Retail event in New York, so that's why hotel room. And I just noticed the fridge started pumping like right below the desk. Can you hear any scratches, or is everything okay?
No, everything is great. Don't worry. I mean, people know you're a traveler all around the world, so that's fine, bro.
Cool. All right. I just want to make sure the sound quality is okay as well.
Yeah.
Bit of the background. What happened, or how did the whole thing get started? Well, in general, we are Amazon sellers ourselves. That's actually how everything started in 2014. Back then, we used to live in China for a quite long time. I was in Asia for 6 years. My wife was in Asia for 12 years. And we actually met back then in China. We just did a quick discussion on what your wife better have, girlfriend / anything is doing.
Yeah.
She's a chemical engineer, like you said, and I'm an electrical engineer actually by university, and was 12
I'm an aerospace engineer, so we are all engineers here. Yeah.
There you go. Engineers are the best.
Yeah, man, 100%. I actually heard this thing from, I remember who it was, by saying when it comes to business, apparently engineers are one of the communities that when they get business and they get into entrepreneurship are one of the best because of the analytical mindset. So I think we're on a good road, bro.
Yeah, but there's also a big but, and that's what I notice on myself as well, depending on which business it is. Engineers like to do everything on their own.
Yeah, that's true.
Engineers like to, put the hands on, get everything going. And when it comes to outsourcing, or not outsourcing, but hiring staff, building a business, it's so hard to give control away. My wife, she has an MBA. She's much more brutal with that. She says she learned directly from the beginning, and I'm learning from her how it is to hire more people, not to do everything on your own. And that's, biggest great thanks to my wife for. Yeah, she's pretty much built the whole backend, and now we're more than 50 people in Signify.
I think that's the beauty of combining the two basically skill set. You provide more the analytical, more the technical side, and she provide more the business team building side of things, which is perfect combination.
It is a very, very good combination, no doubt.
Good, awesome. So let me learn more about you. How you got started into e-commerce? How you jump from engineering to e-commerce, and then from there to Signify? Yeah.
Well, 12 years ABB, ASEA Brown Boveri, industrial world market leader in industrial automation and electrification. So nobody really knows ABB, but everybody knows Siemens. Back then, they also had like 145,000 people, so a massive company.
Good, yeah.
And they, with them originally coming from Germany, I said, hey, I want to go abroad again, but don't give me Europe, and don't give me Singapore, because in Asia for beginners, I want to go the hard way. That's how I went to China. And during the China time, my wife has been doing sourcing all her life long. She's Russian. She comes, from the Russian-Chinese border. She very early, in the age of 16 or 17, she actually already went to university in China.
Wow.
But on a UK, no, I think 17 or so, but still very, very early, into a UK compound of universities. So yeah, she did sourcing then, and what so many Russian ladies actually been doing back in those days was going to China to source for Russian companies.
Interesting.
And she stuck with it. She's been doing sourcing all her life. And one day, it was 2013 or 14, she told me, Sebastian, I was always doing something on the side, you know, always building something while being employed, always somewhat related to sales, which is weird. And then she said, hey, listen to this podcast. And back then it was Scott Walker, the amazing seller.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
whenever the air was okay, I put, you know, FFP2 mask for us in 2011, 2012. That was normal because we used to live in Beijing, and, you know, you always wear a mask if the air pollution is so bad. And whenever we had a chance, walked outside, went to, you know, went either jogging or walking in the evening to get some steps at least in, mask on, headphone in, and listen to Scott Walker and learned how to do FBA. And I was like, that all sounds somewhat reasonable. Where's the, you know, where's the trap, or what's the issue? And said, hey, look, we're doing sourcing. Like, we're sitting right at the source. We're living in China.
Yeah.
And this is how we got started with the first business, the first brand ourselves. Later, we moved to Singapore and stayed there a couple more years and built up the own first brand. And I usually say it actually took me like 1.5 years to understand that the other side bed by there, actually, by the way, I felt that the other side of the bed could actually do the sourcing for my own brands. And I was like, why does my girlfriend do that?
Yeah, that's a good. That's great, man. I think I love this story because when it comes to you know, your background, when it comes to jumping from engineering to now having your own business and all the journey you just described so far is very similar to mine. I think it all comes down to, I think we both of us that we have this engineering background, I think both of us at the same time also had the entrepreneur bug inside of us, that we wanted to do something on our own, something on the side, you know, make extra money, because we know when it comes to engineering, we are very limited to the amount of money that we can do. And to be honest, I'm proud to see what you guys have built so far, and, you know, building this empire, to be honest. I see Signify all across the world now. And I think what you guys are doing, helping with sourcing, is amazing, because I think when it comes to sourcing, is something that I feel right now in the Amazon space is pretty, I mean, I would say it's 80% of the success right now, because when it comes to Amazon, we all talk about PPC, branding, images, and so on. But the reality is, if you do your sourcing incorrectly, you overpay for your product, the quality is not good, you don't find the reliable suppliers, the rest is not going to work, because the rest is just there to enhance and make your business better rather than fixing it, right? So being said this, I think I want to start with, you know, today's topic, which is basically some of the tips when it comes to sourcing. You know, lately people has been thinking about, you know, sourcing outside of China because of everything that just happened with the COVID and all the delays when it comes to, you know, the shipping and so on. So I'm pretty sure now, you, after working with so many clients, you have seen other alternatives in the space. And I would like to hear what is your take on this, what are some of your advice and tips, so, you know, our audience can learn from that.
Yeah, happy to share, of course. I mean, no question. One of the things I want to say that you mentioned was a really, really good one. Why sourcing is so important. I mean, of course, quality of the product is one of the major things, but the pricing, the way the cost you buy your products for defines your margin at the end. So, you know, the cheaper, of course, you get your product, the more margin you will have. And this maybe as one of the small, bigger hacks, especially for the ones who are a bit successful out there already, is when you have bestsellers, do not think you're done with this product. You can so many times still optimize the purchasing cost for your bestsellers by having same or better quality, but reducing the cost of your product, which immediately indirectly transfers into bottom line margin. So when you get your products cheaper, you have either more profit or more possibilities to place yourself, for example, on sponsored into space or position 1. Now, some of the things that we've seen, like I mentioned right now, sourcing from China, I mean, it's still going on. China is still the biggest producing market in the world. and we're still doing roughly, I would say, about like 40 to 50% of all our projects are still sourcing inside China. But the outside China massively overtook the sourcing in China. Main reasons we have always seen during the last years, I mean, it was the first one is always like cost. Container cost is way too high. That was, of course, for any Amazon seller, for any physical product seller, always a reason of optimizing the costs. Second time were the lead times. We used 13, 14 weeks of sea time. So when the container was on sea, it took quite a long time. All the traffic jams and everything you had in front of the harbors. Production time increased because of the shutdowns in China. The order books were full, but when the companies were shut down, it took them later time, of course, to follow up and catch up, and they couldn't produce for weeks, and sometimes for months. And a fourth or fifth point that usually I bring people as well and start asking is like, what else besides cost and time? What else is a benefit of sourcing outside of China? It's USPs. It is simply saying, hey, it's made in Europe, it's made in Germany, it's made in the US. Some of our customers even put in big fat letters, not made in China.
For your branding.
Exactly, your own branding. And imagine what you can do. And here, one of the things, I mean, I guess Ecomcy, you'll say the same thing. What is one of the most important things on the listing? It's the images.
Yes.
You need to put your USPs into the images. And I know you guys, you create good or great images, help updating your listings. And imagine you put all of these USPs, the unique selling proposition into your listing as well, how you compete against your competitors. Super important point. And that's, why so much for US sellers, for example, switch to other Asian countries. There is specifically for US sellers is another reason I'll give you in a minute. They switch to other Asian countries. They switch to Mexico. They switch to sourcing in the US as well. They switch to Latin America. I mean, Evo Latam, where we've been at the trade show, of course. And the other thing specifically for US sellers is, or are, the anti-dumping import tariffs. They always existed, of course, for products from China, but Donald Trump pushed this further.
I know.
So many more products have so much higher. I think the highest one we've seen was a 47 or 48% import tax. So if you're ordering products for $100,000 value, there's another $47,000 to $48,000 just import cost into the US, which of course kills your margin. So, and as soon as you move, for example, the same product that you have could be quite likely already produced in Vietnam or Indonesia, or maybe even already in Mexico and other countries, you may have 0% import tax. So that's 47,000 on top of, but I mean, that's an extreme example.
Of course. But now, I think that's very interesting because, of course, I have seen the same with my clients. Some clients are already shifting from China to other countries because of exactly what you're saying. I mean, just the tariff, just the amount that you can save in there, it can be game changer when it comes to profitability. And then you can use your money, that money for PPC, launching new products, etc. Right? But at the same time, I have found that yes, people is finding alternatives outside China, but the reality is that outside of China, sometimes it's a bit more complex because it's not as easy as in China when it comes to, everybody uses Alibaba. It's very streamlined. People in China, it's like trained, like very salesperson. They know what you want, MOQ, all the terminologies. And I feel like when you start going outside of China, you lose that smooth process that you have in China, that within 1-2 weeks you have a sample, you have the order, blah blah blah, done. By another country, it's not like that, right? So I will say one of my next questions, so people can get value out of you when it comes to tips, is what are some of the mistakes you see people doing when sourcing outside of China, and what advice you can give to make this transition as smooth as possible?
When sourcing outside of China, so not in China anymore. I mean, another point that I want to add into the previous speech or talk or whatever I said, and that fits perfectly in here as well. One of the mistakes is to only look into shipping cost, shipping time, lead time, production time, and all of those things. Plus, of course, the USPs. But think about the other way as well. It's the shipping time, on the other hand, will be a lot lower. I mean, sometimes you can load it on a truck and it's going to be there in 2, 3, 4 days. The cost, of course, will be lower, but at the same time, also the possibility of ordering more frequently in smaller batch numbers. You don't need to make like, an order of 10,000 if you say, hey, you know what? I mean, we don't have 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks of shipping time. We have a lead time of like 1 week for delivery. Yeah. So we could place many more smaller orders and, not that much of cash is invested.
Yeah.
And
it's a cash flow game, basically. You can recuperate your money faster and you can flip it faster. Yeah.
This is one of the things. Plus, your planning doesn't need to be as strict and tough, and you don't need to be as worried to say, oh, is 10,000 units now enough for the next 6 months? Or when do I need to order again? Because here you say, it's like, okay, we'll produce. It may be production in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 week shipping time. Boom, we're done in 5 weeks instead of a pre-run of 1.5 to 2 months.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was actually the same amount then, but instead of having like 2.5, 3 months, or even 4 months, or sometimes 6 months pre-calculation, and all of the invest, of course. Now, another thing is, I mean, both in China, yes, there's Alibaba. You can use Alibaba. You will find a lot of manufacturers. But by the way, we also find a lot of manufacturers that are not even on Alibaba, because we have our local team. We can read and write. I myself not. But speak Chinese, but the rest of the team can, and we network and we find other people who are not even on Alibaba or who may don't even have a web page. Now, the same thing goes for the other countries outside of China. Alibaba, there may be a few of them on there. There may be Euro pages, global pages, sorry, a WLW for Germany. There may be so many other platforms where you can find suppliers, but at the same time, also look for Google. So Google the heck out of your potential suppliers, speak the local language if you can, search in the local language, search not on google.com, but maybe google.de if you're searching in Germany.
Yeah.
And be patient. So the rest of the world is usually not as sales driven as China, where the sales reps of each of the manufacturers is sitting there and waiting and, always answering at any day and night time, just to show, hey, I want to give service, I want to sell, I want to be there for you.
Yeah, good.
Be prepared. It may take 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 times to contact suppliers.
Yeah, it's slower.
Until they get back to you with a proposal. But in the end, it is worth it for whatever USPs, time, money, and so on.
Awesome, very good. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the same thing I found when we were in Mexico. I was talking to all these manufacturers and I was amazed by, the quality and some of the unique selling points that they were basically providing as manufacturers. And you were mentioning to them Amazon. They didn't even have a clue that you could sell on Amazon. And this shows the huge potential when it comes to all these manufacturers outside of China that may have amazing products that nobody have. That means it's not a saturated product. And most likely you're opening a door to these manufacturers that they didn't have open in the first place. And that gives you room for more negotiation, right? Because that's huge extra revenue that they didn't have in the first place. So, and this is going to come to my next question when it comes to negotiation, right? So I feel like, of course, if you're working with manufacturers in China, they already know all the, as I said, terminologies. They know how to negotiate. They already are very, very sales orientated when it comes to that. But when it comes outside of China, I have found that, it takes a little bit more to actually negotiate. And sometimes they might feel like the only thing you care about is like the price that they give you and demo queue. And that's where I feel like most of the time the relationship doesn't move forward. And I would like to ask you, what is some advice you can give when it comes to negotiation skill? I mean, do you have some specific methodology in mind, time frames? What do you usually advise to make it as effective as possible?
One of the things for sure is, many of the suppliers always expect, oh, you only want to compare prices. In the end, you're going to order from China. If you specifically say, is like, look, we've been sourcing from China before. Now our target is to do sourcing outside of China. So yes, of course, we're comparing the prices. But we compare prices here locally in this production market. So we're not comparing it to China. At the same time, I mean, for sure, they're used to selling themselves as well. They know the terms as well because they've been producing. They may, like you say, just not know that they are possible, or the products being possible to be sold on Amazon as well. Now, they may not be used to, doing everything remotely and digitally, because they may not even have a web page, but still
Yes.
they may be a very long time on the market, and they work through referrals where people may still have come into the factories and sit down there at the table and spend half a day just discussing one product, if that makes sense. They may not be as fast and as adept to have the modern ways of communication, but also they will learn that. That's another problem. Yet another thing that what I see a lot is being done in mistakes is that we only mention the MOQ. Let's say the first MOQ of 50, 100, 500 units. And now please always...
Typical copy-paste template.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I mean, what you're doing in this moment, or what we can do then for you in this moment to find those suppliers, is you are actually selling something to them.
Yeah.
You're selling them an idea of a cooperation. So first of all, why would they, want to work with you if you come with an MOQ of 50 or 500? They say,
a point.
So much effort for what? Why should I produce 50 units of 500 for you? So what I always say in there, please paint them a positive but realistic image of the future. When you show them that you have built a business before, that you maybe know the right influencer contacts or have partners for sales, that I help others also to get into retail businesses, that you maybe have somebody who helps to get your product into retail. You built an Amazon business before. And by the way, positively, but realistically speaking, in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, it will be whatever, 3,000, 5,000, 20,000 units in an order. And you directly let them know this in the beginning as well. Then they see, oh, okay, there's future potential. Plus, this person is not just a beginner, he knows business. So maybe I'll take the effort, of course, of giving him a proposal for his 50 or 500 units and directly mention also the prices for the higher MOQ. Yeah. And another hint I would definitely give is what we're usually doing when we source in China. We usually target to find about 30 potential producers. Wow.
That's a lot.
Outside of China, about 60 potential producers.
Yeah, most people, when they source, they only look at 3 or 4.
Yeah, but then you don't know the price. Then you don't know the real market price. You may have a high, medium, and a low price. How do you know that they're really good? Plus, how many samples are you gonna look at? 1, 2?
That's why I wanted to make the point, because I think I wanted to bring that to it to show the importance of using a company like Signify, because I think most people is not going to have the bandwidth to talk to 30, 40, 50 suppliers. And that's where the mistakes come, because you're rushing it. You're looking these videos of people, making millions in FBA. You want to, source the product quickly. And that's where mistakes happen, because you just focus on generic products, things that are saturated. And because you didn't use somebody that really helped you throughout the process, you end up selling the same thing that everybody's selling at a very high price. So, yeah.
I mean, we're very happy, of course, also to teach this to others, to say, hey, almost all of that everybody can do on their own. It's just, the experience that you have, the languages that you may speak or may not speak, and the patience of finding 30 to 60 producers. I mean, you need to find them, you need to contact them, you need to get the proposals, you need to compare the proposals, you need to look at them and then decide for which ones of them do you want to do or get samples from. So, of course, all of that can be done on one's own with practice and all of those things. But it is the question. I mean, do you want to spend your time on sourcing and finding products and negotiating, or is your time better spent on sales and marketing?
Yeah,
I know where my time is spent better on for our own brands as well. Yes, sourcing the whole team does on itself, but then I focus my time, on what is important. I mean, update your pictures, work with Ecomcy together to say, hey, come on, we get your listing out of the ground. We really get you help in selling. We need to have the right keywords. We need to have the indexing right. We need to have the PPC running well. This whole thing needs to be profitable. And then, I mean, we need images, videos, shares, external traffic, and all of those things to get the the products out. And if on the other hand you now work with Ecomcy, well, then there's good time for you as well to find potential new ideas of the next products. And you see the market is getting more and more and more saturated, more and more competition.
You need top strategies, for sure. You need top strategy. You need to work with the right people, because otherwise, it's becoming each day more and more difficult to succeed in the Amazon space. And that's why we keep going to these events to promote all these new strategies, what is happening, what you need to do, what you must not do, because otherwise, I mean, we keep seeing all these people coming to the same trap of, you know, the quick money thing around the Amazon space. But anyway, I think the other question I had, which I get this question a lot, by the way, and that's why I wanted to bring this to start concluding today's episode, is how to deal with intellectual property, right? Because let's say I have a unique idea. I come up with something that, you know, I invented in my garage, something that nobody has, but I need at the same time, you know, if I invented this in the UK, most likely produce this in the UK is going to cost me a fortune. And I want to bring this to a country like in Asia or Latin America to produce it. I'm afraid that my idea is going to get stolen. And that's always the fear of some of our clients, that they have these like patents and they have these unique propositions when it comes to the product. So how do you deal with that, and what is some advice to, you know, start looking for manufacturers when at the same time you need to protect your idea?
Yeah, really, really good question. And we also get this, of course, quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ways that we have on our own, I mean, of course, an NDA. I mean, how much are they going to care about an NDA?
Yeah.
But we, for us ourselves, in our team, in our network, we also have Chinese lawyers, for example, when it comes to specifically to China. And we can also make NDAs, NNNs, and all of the other documents or agreements in Chinese language. And yes, we could also go to Chinese court, or in front of Chinese court, with the lawyers that we have in our network. The other thing that I usually say, also when you do sourcing on your own, or when we do this for you, my suggestion is sometimes even we ourselves, I mean, for sure, NDAs is not a problem for us.
Yeah.
But we ourselves quite often don't even need to see the real drawings, don't even need to see the real documents, because to be honest, I mean, how do I say that? We've even done projects for some.
They try to keep it vague so you don't give
of course.
it away.
I can't give names.
No, I see what you mean. I think maybe what you're trying to say is that, for example, there are products like, let's say you want to do something that's made out of plastic and wood, right? You know what is it, right?
Like governments and governments needing
I see what you mean.
Secret products where we didn't even know what the purpose for this is, but we set our own demands. Like we would never do weapons. We will never do drugs or any of those things. When it comes to defense, even that is something where we're saying we're picking out the products, what we're doing. But it's, for example, some, you know, intelligence agencies that are developing something, whatever, where you don't even know what's going on.
I see what I mean.
But what you need then, for example, is the drawings or basics of them, where none of the suppliers really know all the different parts that are running in there. So for us, luckily here, selling on Amazon, it's usually easier. It's not that strict, it's not that deep. But those were some really, really interesting projects.
That's interesting. So I think in that case, I'm assuming the process you will do is like, you just need to understand what is the material, what is the specific type of manufacturing or machinery, and then you go along those lines to find the right manufacturer, right? You keep it vague, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the hint for you then would, of course, be like, do not give out the drawing to every one of the suppliers that you're asking from.
Okay.
Take another drawing. Take something that's somewhat similar when we're going and finding the 30 to 60 potential producers, and you give them a document, you know, where it shows like some kind of product which is somewhat similar.
Very close.
You can create this, and you know, okay, then most likely they'll also be able to create our product.
I see what I mean.
Once we're weeding out those 30 to 60 potential producers, and we're listing it down to the 2, 3, 4, or 5 of them where we say, come on, those look to be the most reasonable. Those could be the ones where we say we get samples from. And even in this process, we can also always still say, let's not send them the real documents. Let's send them something, and we want to see samples, which is something close to. Or if you say, no, we want to see the real thing, then we can say NDA signed with them. Reason, why don't we do an NDA with every one of the suppliers? We could do that, but then we need to charge you a lot more hours, and that's unreasonable. So let's only do it with the ones where it's really necessary. Samples, for example, when we hit the sample stage, we then either sign an NDA or we still let them produce another product and only get the real drawing, the real product description, then to the ones you know, who will be the final producers. Even if it's 2 or 3 of them, you just go to them and then say, you know what, you guys are the only ones who have it. I see a copy of our product anywhere else, I know who gave it to
That's
somebody.
it. You're done.
It's
Yeah.
you. Can only be
Yeah.
you. So I'm taking the NDA serious, and in worst case, if that happens, we have Chinese lawyers or local lawyers. Just
That's good.
put some pressure on them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that when you bring an NDA or something that has some kind of official stamp or signature from lawyers that are from China, I'm pretty sure they're gonna take it more seriously than just a template you're getting from Google and putting your signature on top of it. You see, so
Yeah.
100%. Great. So I think, yeah, I mean, thank you very much for all those insights. I think the last one was very good because, again, I get that question a lot when it comes to my clients about how do I make sure they don't steal my idea. And I'm pretty sure they're going to find your tips very useful when it comes to, navigating with the strategy you just mentioned. So I think, yeah, to conclude today's episode, I want to give you, a last question in case, you want to share any more wisdom to our audience. Is there anything else you want to share when it comes to, funding manufacturers, any tips, any things you have seen in the space, so we can get those last nuggets before we close today's episode? Yeah.
For sure, you have seen, I mean, like I said in the very beginning, also, if you have bestsellers already, consider if there are better prices possible. And for example, just do the research. Ask us for the research. Makes very good sense. We've saved our customers, I think, more than $500 million in savings by now. And yes, quite often, depending on how much they sell, some of the customers, we hit millions of, but like one of the examples, he made $26 million roughly about a year. And in the first 8 months, we saved them $1.4 million in savings. So yes, and they were established very well already. So resource the existing products. But at the same time, when you also look into new products, my suggestion is, again, I'm on Amazon selling myself since 2014. Back then, it was fun. I had here, like, blocker cards, small size wallets, you put a card inside. Just a very small one. And it was fun to sell it because there was hardly any competition. 30 cents production cost, selling price $14.99.
Wow, crazy.
Bam! That of course goes. Now the issue we see right now, one of them, my RFID blocker card, I used to have in Germany alone 63 direct competitors, fully a Me Too product. And you can imagine what happened to the 15 euro sales, right? Flip down, we had like
and the PPC, you're paying like 4 euros per click.
Yeah, I mean, and we had competitors. And funny, the one who was in spot one, I actually talked with him because we said, hey, come on, we're battling each other. I think he had click costs of 202.
Wow.
And I learned myself, I went, steps up and up and up. When do I hit getting past him? I was literally at 452. So it was like $2.50 or 51 cents more to pass him. It's not what Amazon says, 1 cent more and you pass him.
No,
it was
it's not
more
like
than
that.
double. By now, of course, it's different. So what I want to say with this is, so many sellers out there. There's so many, everybody, so many FBA coaches, so many programs saying, hey, here, become rich overnight. And that's why you have so many competitors out there. Focus on premium products by now. Depending on, of course, which market you're going. If you're still going, whatever, to Singapore or so, maybe it's not as strict. But if you're selling in the UK, if you're selling in Germany, if you're selling in the US, do me a favor. Look at your products. Take them apart, look at the competitors, and target yourself on purpose to set yourself 20, 30, maybe 50, 60, 70% higher on the price. But make the product premium.
Yes.
All of your competitors who have the 20, 30, 50, 60, 70% lower price, they will be battling each other. And it's going to be a race to the bottom. They have exactly the same product. They have another RFID blocker card. But if you make another, a product which is premium, this thing is gold plated or not so even covered, not so even to be copied, you set yourself off from the competition. The more margin you make on a product, the more money you also have to place yourself, or organically would be nice, to place yourself on advertised on the higher positions, and you sell more.
Yeah.
Plus, in the end, you may have a still better margin compared to the others. So.
Totally agree.
I think
it's the key nowadays. It's the key. You need to have something different and make something. I also agree that it's all about premium now. Of course, the thing about premium, which makes me laugh sometimes, that people think that a pro become premium just because you put a nice box you put a different color. No, guys, you need to think more outside the box, like really do some re-engineering around the product, which I have seen some of my clients do, and they are banking right now. So for sure, that's a very good advice, and I appreciate you bringing that to the table. So I think that's it for today, Sebastian. I think you share a lot of insights, so I'm pretty sure we can have more episodes like this in the future. In the meantime, I want to thank you for being here today, and I want to give you an extra minute so you can tell us more about how people can find you, get in touch with Signify, and start getting those manufacturers. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I mean, for having me. It's I'm super happy to give advice. I'm also a person. I'm super happy to connect to other solutions. For example, Ecomcy or also others who can help with whatever logistics, who can help with lawyers, and so I think I've grown quite a network right now. We know all the solutions. We have partners on the site who can, and no, we're not getting any affiliate fee for that. I'm just happy to connect and bring people together and help them. Achieve the next level. Even if it gets to retail, you want to sell your products into big box retail, well, I think I can help there as well. I've done it for my own product. Awesome. About us, Signify.net, Z in the end, Y in the Z in the beginning, Y in the end, .net. And what we do is, well, we help find manufacturers not only in China but all over the world. And when it comes, point number 2, when it comes to optimizing product cost for your bestsellers, more than happy to look into this. Awesome. I think that's all I want to say about us. Signify.net. Else you'll find me probably on LinkedIn, on Facebook.
As a connector. I'm gonna make sure to put all the information down in the description so people can find you, get in reach with you and your team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. It's been a pleasure. Okay, have a nice one.
So do you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.